My dear, monsters are more than just horrid looks and claws and teeth. Monsters are born of deeds done. Unforgivable ones.
Hey there, Az. Hey, this is, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. This is some beautiful animation, really appealing drawings. Overall, just really exciting. It's fun to see animation like this. So, my name is Shad Bradbury. I've been an animator for about 20 years. I've worked at places like Pixar, Sony, Rhythm and Cues, and Tippett. I worked on uh, Currently, I'm working on Lightyear. We're pretty much done with that in animation. Before that, I worked on Coco and Inside Out, Finding Dory, and then a whole slew of really terrible movies that you probably asked yourself, why did they ever make those? I probably helped. Yeah, and the last 5 years, I've been directing a short, which we are almost done, and it'll be in the film festival soon. So enough about me. Onto your beautiful animation. Let's kind of look at it real quick.
My dear, monsters are more than just horrid looks and claws and teeth. Monsters are born of deeds done. Unforgivable ones.
Awesome. So I overall, I really love it. The first pass, excuse me. There were two things that stood out to me. So overall, your animation is rock solid and it's great. Um, like I said, my first pass, like if I were looking to like hire someone and this was a demo reel and it came in front of me, these two things kind of stood out to me. So the first one was the hookup between these shots. It's not really an animation issue so much, but it's just kind of something that really stood out to me. Let me mute this for a second. I found myself feeling jarring, the hookup. So I wonder if there's a few things that we can kind of help smooth it out. So that was the first one. And then the second one was this ending right here. It felt a little bit jarring to me and unexpected, and maybe not in the greatest way. So I wonder if there's some simple things that we can do to fix these two things. So I'm going to focus on those two things first, and then I'll kind of quickly go through and give you some of my other smaller thoughts on maybe how I would have approached some things. But starting with the hookup. So one is that it kind of has the feeling um, of everything coming to a stop in the shot, like the animation. This is common in 3D. It's interesting that you're doing it in 2D, but it feels like your character is moving along, and then it feels like they're coming to a stop, and then they cut to the next shot, and then the next shot is here, and then it feels like they slowly start moving again. Like if we take a look at like some of your spacing right before it cuts, see how everything gets really small here. So like you have like if we just track some of your movements, it gets really small. We can see that all, and this is kind of throughout. So it's like you go like this, and then you slow down, and then you get to your next shot, and then you start speeding up again. So I think that's something that's hurting you. I would cut on the action. So what I would suggest doing is trying to, the same can be said for this close up too. If you take a look at your spacing, see how it's slow, and then it speeds up right here. So I would probably try to find your biggest movement, and your biggest movement right here it is your hand. So this is the thing that I would use to kind of carry across the cut. So like I would do it like right at its point where it's probably moving the most. So so this is a really large spacing gap right here. I'm looking at this to this, right? So that's probably a real, like, and same with this as well. This is probably a really great place to cut. Like if you were to have cut like right at 254, and then with your next shot, if you cut in, I wonder if it looks like you may have to adjust it. I wonder if you start your hand like this, and then the next frame is like that, and then like that, and then like that, and then you have your ease. And that will help carry the audience to the next shot because they'll be able to track something. They'll be like, oh, okay, here's the hand, and then it goes over to the next shot. So that's my first suggestion in terms of helping to fix this hookup. The second suggestion, it may be a choice, but I feel like it would only benefit you. So right now, you have the character coming straight towards camera. In fact, if anything, you have them coming a little bit screen left. I say that because, like, if I look at his head, it's angled a little bit this way. And when he right before he cuts, he covers the character's head right here, or it covers part of it. And I wonder if that's really needed, or if it would be better if he actually exited screen right. So I wonder if you could do it with just simply repegging the animation. So I might start by doing something like that. So if you like start repegging it at, say, like at 230, you key this down, and then you basically took this same thing, your same animation to begin with, and you just moved it over this way so that it felt like he was moving out screen right, so that we had some direction on the cut instead of coming straight at us. That would do two things. One, it would give you, like I said, direction, so that then the next cut you could move from screen left to screen right as well, and we could hook up over that movement. And then the second one is it would free you up for us to kind of see his reaction as the guy walks away. You might, if you decided to do that, you would probably end up needing to mirror this so that he's facing this way. That's a lot of work at this point with how great your animation is and how cleaned up it is. Um, and so the same would be for here. What you could do is you could probably just slightly move this over, repeg it so that it's here. Ideally, you would give it a little bit of an angle that way so that he moves a little bit screen right. He's already moving a little bit screen right in this one, so it would actually, you might be able to even get away with not. And then lastly, one thing that you might consider, if those were not to work, you might consider actually having him even come even closer to the camera so he fills up more of the screen, and then that might help the hookup. So if you were to get him, say, like covering up, like this whole end over here, and then this whole end over here. Oops, sorry, I hit something. Then you might find that the hookup works a little better. So those are my suggestions to help with the hookup. Going on to the second thing, let's look at this. So a few things here. One was that I think the sound really hurts you here. It kind of feels like it's not suited for the dialogue, and so like I would try to search. The easiest thing to do is try to search for some sound effects that will help make it feel like it's integrated into like the dialogue and your animation. Because right now there's a juxtapose between your animation and the sound, and they don't feel like they quite match here. Yeah, because the dialogue goes and then you have, but it's all quiet. So that's the first thing I would do is suggest doing that. Going on to some animation things. When we get to here, this is really appealing. I really love how you have your simple line here, and then you have your complex side here. That's really great. One of the things that you might consider, something that I learned pretty late, is that an animator told me when I was doing a shot, was like the last thing that moves is usually what the audience pays attention to, and I think this is a really good example of that. So like when the character turns, you have these hair things that go like this, and they go on for quite a while, and I find that they end up drawing my attention, and I find myself paying attention to these things right here, and I don't think that's your intent. I think what you want is you want people to be paying attention to here. So if I do a turn like this, like this, but then I have things that are flopping like this, like if I go but my hands are going like this, you're probably going to pay attention to my hands because they're what's moving. So what I would suggest doing is probably having them come to an end much sooner, even though they're animated nicely. And I would try to minimize their animation overall so that we can focus on this and not the overlap, how well you can, overlap the hair. Cool. And then lastly, and this might be a choice on my part.
Unforgivable.
There's a little bit of a feeling like he tenses up here, but then he goes, he tenses up,
Unforgivable
then he
ones.
relaxes, and then he goes like this. So it kind of feels like you're
My dear.
tensing up, relaxing, tensing up, and I wonder if that's necessarily needed. I ideally, I think it would be nice if we saw him tense up like this, like if we saw small indications, like maybe I'm just going to do this extreme. Obviously, you would be able to draw it much better than me. Like, I wonder if we saw indications of like him getting, and this is going to be ugly drawing, so don't judge it by like that. But like the idea of like you see him tense up, you see his shoulders rise a little bit, and maybe his elbows go and they go down, so that then when he turns around, it feels appropriate. So instead of like this to that, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. And with that said, it's interesting. I wonder maybe if you just stay in this pose.
Unforgivable ones.
Yeah, actually, looking at this, I might just consider staying in this pose right here because it doesn't feel like there's a need to relax, and you might even be able to get a little bit more tense by showing the fist get a little bit more angry through here.
Unforgivable ones.
I love your little bit of head rotation here that you can see with your ears, like right here.
Unforgivable ones.
Cool. So those are my two main things that stuck out to me, and the things that I would work on at first. Those are the main things.
Monsters are more than just.
Awesome. Okay, moving forward, your lip sync overall feels pretty strong to me. Your animation overall feels really strong to me. What's interesting about this is one of I feel like the huge benefits of 2D over 3D is contact. 3D doesn't do very well with contact, or it takes a lot of work to make it look well. But 2D, in a very easy sense, can handle contact, and it can be like you can easily show pressure and contact and all of that really well. So that's one of the things that I would like. If we look at this part right here, when he puts his hand on his shoulder, the two feel very disconnected, and it doesn't feel like there's any contact whatsoever. And that's something that I feel like is really easy to do in 3D to show that contact between the two characters. So it feels like that they were animated right now by two different, animators, and it was kind of just pegged here and pegged there. So that's one thing that I think you could easily do. Like you have this, you have here. Again, I tend to just do things extreme to try to help demonstrate. It might be nice to see a little bit of a down, like on the kid, especially particularly on the shoulder. If you wanted to, you could even add a slight down in the overall chest. This might flatten out a little bit to squash. Yeah, and then it'd be interesting to actually change the design of this. Right now, it's like this, and I wonder if you're able to get like the finger to actually overlap that design, because right now is it just right now it's completely just behind it, and I wonder if you bring a finger around and over it like that, so it feels like that'll help the connection right there. Yeah, you also have like a reaction to the kid. Sorry, I'm gonna turn off the sound right now. It's like you have this like little up and down, and I feel like that's happening at an odd time, like right when I think you're trying to suggest like the kid gets shocked that he got touched. Yeah. You might be able to keep the same animation, but only on this shoulder while the other one gets contacted. So yeah, I would really work on the connection and on that, because I feel like that's a simple thing to do that will help a lot. Cool. Moving on from there.
Monsters are more than just horrid looks and claws and teeth.
Great. There was
My dear. Monsters are more than just.
I think it's the armor for me.
Monsters are more.
Yeah, for me, and this is again completely probably my choice. This is a choice, not necessarily better, but this is how I would I wonder if, like, listening to this dialogue, if you don't wanna show a little bit of monster before the end. Like, so that, like, if we were to watch it again, we'd be like, "Oh, I can see that, like, he actually has a little bit of that monster in him." Like, you were showing us that. And I wonder if this is a point where you're like, monsters
Monsters are
are
more than
more.
just
I would probably simplify that instead of having, like, this head shake and the thing there. I wonder if you
monsters are
I wonder if this was a moment where you had, like, big open eyes, um, and you might even be able to add a little bit of anger in there. Um, he's obviously looking in the wrong place. He's not looking at the character at the moment. Uh, yeah, so I would probably simplify this.
are more than just horrid
Armor.
looks and claws and teeth.
And just horror. And then you'll be able to subtly, like, then you're adding subtext to it, so it's not just on the surface. You're adding a little bit of depth to it.
Are more than just
Than
horrid
just, and then you'll be
looks
able to
and
come out
claws
of
and
that. Like,
teeth.
if you show a little bit of anger there, and then I think what's his armor,
Than just
armor, then just subtle. Like, and then you'll be able to come out of that and relax and become like the grandpa or the
horrid looks and claws and teeth. Monsters are more
yeah. I think that's mainly it. Let me.
than just horrid looks and claws and teeth. Monsters are born of deeds done, unforgivable ones.
Great. It's kind of interesting. Like, the last thing I'll say is, like, the line. If you listen to the
Yeah.
line,
Monsters are more than just horrid looks and claws and teeth.
so monsters are more than just teeth and looks and looking weird. They're about their actions, right?
Monsters are born of deeds done.
Monsters are evil and they do terrible things. So he's saying to the kid, monsters are more than just this. Monsters are more than just looking bad, but they're actually they're about, like, the terrible things they do. So on a much bigger, broader sense, like, if we were to take this to blocking, or if we were to
Forgivable.
suggest, like, let's do the shot again, one of the things that I might have considered is, instead of him looking bad at the end, having him do something bad at the end. Like, in this case, I wonder if he broke the wall over here, or if he, thinking even broader, if there was something in the scene, and he grabbed them, or just basically doing a bad deed. I feel like that might fit the line itself a little bit better, because his line is saying monsters are more than just looking bad. They do really terrible things. So,
Yeah.
on a broad sense, that's
Monsters
how I might have
are
taken this line
more
if I
than
were
just
to do it.
horrid looks and claws and teeth. Monsters are born of deeds done, unforgivable ones.
Yeah. Those are my overall thoughts. Like I said, really beautiful, brilliant animation. I love your drawings and your designs. I wish you well. Really beautiful work. Great job, Az. Okay, I'll see you.